wasit.com.
Oh dear folks, I'm recording this on a very cold mid-April day, walking through the woods. The reason I'm going to do this today is because it's so cold. It reminded me, I've seen in the papers that the gas prices of some firms are going up again. Basically, it might be worth it that, years ago I used to work for a gas firm, gas and electric, selling gas and electric door to door, and you're going back quite a few years now. But what happened then might apply to, well, it might be of some use today for some of you folks. I always recommend to everyone to keep changing your gas supply and electric, or at least go online and see if anyone can do it cheaper. Now, I don't know if the rules are changed. The basic rules when I was selling it was British Gas couldn't change the prices, they were fixed. Well, other firms could. If you was domestic, which basically if you're at home, the rule was you could change monthly. I presume that's the case now. And if you're a business, I think you would be locked into a year's account. You could be locked down. That was sort of the general rule. So you could in theory change your company every month. I'm not sure, when I see somewhere they lock you in for a year or something, if you can still change. I think it locks you in with theirs, but I'm not sure if that means you can't change. You'd have to check. If you ever sign up to these 1 year, 2 year deals, it's worth checking to see if that means you can't change. So I'm not sure if you can't, even if you lock into a year deal, that you can't move. I'm not sure if it's like a mobile phone contract where you have to be with them for 1 year or 2 years or whatever it is, if you get my meaning. Anyway, that was sort of the basic rule. I don't know if British Gas can now compete on prices. They might be able to. I mean, it's going back a few years. Now there's several things to always remember. The main one is it's the billing company you're changing, not the actual gas or electric. Not that I'm aware. Basically, it's the same gas or the same electric that you'd always get. That doesn't change. That was naughty. Sorry, the dog's being naughty. It's unlike the male one. He's quite elderly. Seems to be full of beans today. Not like him at all, which is good news. It's bouncing out. Sorry, going off subject there. So basically, you're changing the billing firm. Now, in the past, there were quite a few billing firms, and what's happened is several merged or gone bust. Sorry, I hope you can hear me okay. It's both windy and the dogs are barking. So, what you've got is, you've got to remember that they can only lower the bills so much, because the actual cost of the gas and electric remains a set price to whoever bills you. In theory, anyone could set up, I presume, a billing firm. It's then they have to then send out the bills, and so what happened traditionally was companies simply just scrapped as many staff as they could to make the bills that bit cheaper, to scrape a few pence off. They'd not have as many staff. Now that's not bad if you don't have any problems, but you've always got to consider, if you've got any problems and you want to speak to somebody to deal with it, if there's no staff there, few, you might be put on hold for ages, or it might be an email only system or whatever. I don't know how well it is these days. So it's quite difficult for firms to scrape off money, because basically there's only two things they can do, is save money on staff and save money on buildings. Now, I have noticed even British Gas has cut back on building costs. I think they've moved out. They used to be in some quite expensive buildings. I might be wrong, but even they're trying to save money on the buildings by going to lower cost, more economical buildings. So that's basically the two. That's something I always say to people to think about. Can you save money? I think you still can. I think it's always worth moving. It's, in general, it's not going to be, well, it depends how much you use. Some people only use a little bit of electric, and so the savings are quite low. But in general, it's like a lot of things. If you've got car insurance, mobile phones, it's always worth checking out other competition. I mean, I always say to people, go online, use a price comparison site, but then don't always sign up straight away. Check to see if going direct to these firms can save you more. It's a bit like when I did my car insurance. I went directly to the firm. Not only was it cheaper, I actually got a lot more from it. Like I got breakdown cover thrown in and a few other things. Legal, all that, and I was still saving money. Now these days you don't tend to get paper bills as you used to. It seems to be more online, but I'll go by the old paper bill because the modern ones probably they're similar. If you go look on it, it's usually PDF. When I was working out if I could save people money with gas and electricity, there's a unit price. One thing you've got to remember as well is I think they've done away with it now. They also had, or they might still include it, they have like a set fee each month, which can be a bit of a pain. If you don't use much, you're paying for basically nothing. But I'm not sure if this is, it's got confusing because I've dealt with it on a few people where they used to sign up to, but they didn't use any electric, well no, so it wasn't, they had no gas or didn't use the gas, and they switched to such a low bill that it was basically zero, but they still had a meter. But in recent months I've had letters saying that the law's changed. I don't know if this is true, so they've had to have the meters taken out because there was no point having it in because they were getting charged. That's something to, anyway. When it comes to the bill, you've got a unit price and you've got the set price. Now, some of the sneaky firms in my day when I was doing this used to do two, they split this unit price up into two. So if you ever get a bill, check they haven't split it up because they used to, on the bill, hide the info so it looked cheaper than it was. But even if you're only saving £1, it's worth it. Better to save £1 a month or whatever it is, so that's 12 quid a year. The reality is that a lot of people just won't, they'll just say I'll do it next month. A bit like car insurance. What we find, well, my experience is, you'll get a nice cheap car insurance, but the year after it'll suddenly go up a lot more because they know a lot of people won't bother changing. I mean, I had it and I simply phoned up and said, can you do me a cheaper deal? And I don't think they even checked, I think it was already in the system. They said they knocked me money off, a lot of money. So even if you want to stay with the current firm, you can usually haggle the price down. Whatever, that could be your mobile phone. I mean, mobile phones always give you a cheaper one. If you're still on the same contract, you should tell them you're leaving because they usually put you through. And have a good look around before you even accept their deal, because you can never, sometimes you can find such really good bargains that you can regret it later. And don't be tempted to go for the latest fancy phone. I see a lot of people going for fancy phones that don't even use them. I mean, the iPhone's great if you use the features, like I'm using it to record this and I take pictures with it, and there are quite a few things. I use it as a tool each day. But the people out there who do have iPhones who literally, they just text on it, a few texts. Well, you know, it's okay, they might look fancy to have in the pocket, but you guess what? They're complete overkill, and the amount of people who buy these and then end up breaking the screen or something and then having that replaced, all just for something that a 10 quid phone could do. It's just a bit silly. I mean, they are great phones. I'm not sure it's worth getting the iPhone 10. It seems a lot of features that I don't think I'd ever use. I'm not sure about you folks, but I'm still using this iPhone SE, which does it's got all the features in. I mean, the main one is really picture quality, and I'm not sure the iPhone 10 is that much better. And the video. One tip I'd get, if you're into videoing, and this was the mistake I did on the iPhone SE. I got the iPhone SE, which was the basic 16GB. Well, to be honest, once you put a few apps on, it leaves you with about a couple of gigabytes space, and if you're doing any pictures, that suddenly fills up quick. And video, well, I don't think I've ever done any video more than a few seconds, because it'll just fill it completely at 4K. So if you're planning on one, spend the extra and get the biggest one you can. Storage, I mean, cost of storage is, it's a bit irritating that a 64GB iPhone costs so much more, considering that a little card will cost you pennies. And the great problem with the iPhone is you can't plug a card in. You know, like on the if you get a Samsung or some of the others, or at least that they did, you could plug an expansion card in, which costs you pennies. Might cost you £6, and you could have yanked it up and you could have bought several of them, so you could film and film and film. I mean, I don't think if you ever plan on doing photographs or video, I wouldn't recommend getting a camera phone, because the lens is quite small. I mean, it's tiny, and therefore it can only record so much. It doesn't really have the quality that even a cheap little camcorder will do, because a cheap one will have much bigger lens and be able to record more quality. I mean, the lens on this, I mean, it takes impressive pictures for the size, but if you compare that to a DSLR with a massive lens, it's never going to compete. And so if you're planning on doing video seriously, I mean, for YouTube it's probably okay. I mean, it's better than nothing, let's face it. I mean, I go out with it and I like to take pictures, just fun ones, but they're nothing serious. I just record maybe in my day or whatnot, but they're not, I never go out and, I mean, I'm no photographer anyway. I mean, someone who's got photographic skills can probably take really quality pictures with an iPhone anyway. I mean, I've seen them, or they've claimed they've taken them on an iPhone or whatever phone. I mean, a pro cameraman now can use his eye, and even the worst camera can often take decent pictures. But anyway, that's just going off subject. So if you are, I mean, I don't know if it applies to other countries, if they have this system where you can change gas and electric suppliers, but always go in for a check. Like I say, the old rules, and I don't know if they changed, you can change it each month, so don't be sat there thinking if you change one firm and you don't like them, you're stuck there for a year or two. Now, one thing slightly going off subject is, when we did it, you see, the trouble is people don't I mean, you can do it yourself online. In my day it was basically done door to door. I mean, I think they're still doing it. The trouble was, so many crooks did it. The main reason was the jobs are always advertised it was going to earn thousands and thousands. I mean, they convinced people you're going to earn 100 grand, silly amounts, and sales are going to be easy and whatnot, and often it wasn't. Winter was always the worst for me, because it was dark at night and no one wanted to open the doors naturally. Summer was always the easiest, because it was summer later and people would open, I mean, it was lighter later, so while in winter it's dark, what, 4 o'clock or whatever, and getting dark in before then, and it's cold. Summer people have the doors open till 9-10 o'clock at night, so it's much more friendly. But also people were badly trained. I mean, even in recent years I had people who, just for fun, they'd come door to door to me and ask me to change, and I just asked them basic questions, pretending I didn't know anything, and they tell me things like, you'll get a brand new gas supply, which is completely incorrect. But I think that's what the training is. They were so badly trained. I mean, when we did it, I had to refuse one of the trainers because we had some right to it who came in. I was the team leader for one of the companies, and he came in and I asked, it was just talking rubbish. I mean, literally the guy didn't have a clue, which I just thought, hang about, what's he on about? And when I asked him, his only experience was working in a shop for one day, and that he believed was enough experience to teach a bunch of sales reps. Sorry, to teach a bunch of sales reps, which was quite it wasn't. And that's one of the experiences I had doing this sales, was some of the people training you was absolutely useless. They had no idea. I mean, I used to even go out with some of the managers, not on gas and electric. I used to sell, sorry, just passing someone there. Yeah, what was I talking about? Bad trainers. Got my track now. Oh yeah, I went out once with a manager of this was when it wasn't gas and electric, but it was a different firm. And when we went out, I sat there. I mean, this shows you, this was the guy actually supposed to be in charge. They tried selling to a customer, completely flummoxed it, just made it up. He was just talking drivel. And I just literally sat next to him, and as we walked out, he was supposed to be training me. I just went, hold on there, went back, and just literally went to the bloke. Oh, sorry about that. The guy's just a bit of a twit, and actually got the sale, just because I was being honest and I knew the product. And it's one of the big problems with that. I don't know if it still goes on with door-to-door selling. Most of the guys, oh well, I shouldn't say guys, women as well, zero idea what they're doing. I mean, I used to say, I mean, this is a little tip for people who go out selling. He insisted I never wore a tie, which absolutely cheesed off the manager. I went out rather scruffy, even had long hair in those days. And the reason I did that was because I looked nothing like a sales rep. It was my argument. I even used to go to the doors. I'm not a sales rep, am I? I mean, I used to be nothing like a sales rep. Well, all the others used to get dressed up in quite cheap suits. They look like police people. I mean, if you go in council estates, people didn't even want to open the door in case there were police or bailiffs or something. I mean, that's a big mistake. There's a few tricks that you can do, that I used to do. I mean, like I say, one of them is not dressing like a sales rep. And two, the second one is not to just stand there talking. You see, one of the things about sales reps do is natter. They panic. They think that dead air they've got to fill. They think it's their mission to throw facts at someone. So, say if I was selling a car, now I say this even now, people sit there and there's bad sales guys who'll just natter rubbish about the car, you know, the power and all this. 99% of people don't give a rat's ass about that, because you're selling a dream. I mean, that's one of the things my uncle, because he used to, I mean, one of the reasons I did sales was because of my uncle, and that was one of the key things he used to say. You're selling a dream, not the actual product. And with a car, like I said, it's really rare. The only times you probably ever need to know all that guff is if it's a collector. While some people buy top of the range cars, they don't drive them, they're buying like paintings, and so they need to know the ins and outs for things like that, so they know if it's going to gain value or whatever. So they might need to know how many's made, engine, blah blah blah. And these cars will literally just go into a garage and be left there, and if they do over 500 miles in their life, that'd be amazing. They're literally just collectors' cars. So anyway, this is where, sorry, I'm just I think I'm coming to the end of this thing now. But yeah, if you do have gas and electric, change and keep checking. After all, I think a lot of people, you see, the trouble is people are lazy generally and just don't bother, and that's what they count on. The lazy people pay for the Josh! Shut up! Shush! Shut up! I don't know what they were barking at. I saw somebody. I don't know if they just run off. Dead spooky. Just see if anyone's ahead. What the fuck? Anyway, so I'm just the dogs were barking at someone then. I don't know if they were running because they vanished in an orange suit. Bit weird, running suit. See if they're around this corner. I presume they're running, but it's just a bit odd, they've disappeared. I'll just see if I can see them. Oh yeah, they're running, I can see them ahead. Oh well. Anyway, people love running around the woods. That's another subject I'm going to might go on about. You see all these people running and cycling to keep fit, but guess what they do? A lot of them do it. They cycle on the road, breathing all the fumes, and running alongside. I mean, it's the most unhealthy thing you can ever do, I would presume. Sorry, I'm talking about unhealthy and I've started coughing. But yeah, that's a little off-subject thing for another day. I'll probably talk about. I know it's a lot of people cycling and thinking they're getting fitter, and yet they're breathing directly up the smoke from really polluting. I mean, it's why I don't cycle on the road. It's just I don't want to breathe in all the fumes. And I'm not sure the masks do much, and they don't wear masks. They zoom around smug thinking, oh, I'm getting fit. Anyway, back to the subject. Sorry about that. I've got hiccups now. Forgot what I was ending it with. Basically, I've come into the end anyway. I can't repeat too often. Change. Change. Your supplier. Do it yourself online. Also, that was another thing. One of the dodgy things in the old days, and I think they're still doing it now, is you get people who will actually just fill in the form. And I think that happened with us. We had some dodgy characters on another team, and they were pulling in lots of sales, lots and lots. Which I sat there and I was thinking, well, we're putting this effort in. How come they're getting such ridiculous results? I mean, the manager were boasting, going on telling us off we were the second best, and yet it just didn't make sense. After about 3 months, we suddenly that team suddenly vanished, and what happened was they weren't actually selling. They were going to people's houses, getting the details and signing them up, putting the contracts in. They were signing the contracts themselves, fortunate. And the plan was they get paid, and by the time it got spotted, they'd all leave, which is what some did, and they all got paid. I mean, I think sometimes the police got involved, but it was I'm not sure what the police, I mean, they claim that they got people being to prison for forgery, but I've always wondered. I've never heard about it. I mean, that was the threat they gave us, but the trouble is that it's easy to claim they've gone to prison when cause often it's like a lot of these things. It's a bit like I know from friends where people at their companies, I won't name them, have committed crime, but rather than have it public so the public know, they just let it go. It's better just to write off even 10 grand or 20 grand, and for some of the big firms even a lot more than that, than admit to it and look bad in the press. That's how a lot of so a lot of crime goes on like that. You'd think they'd be arrested and charged. I don't know if you can hear me, I'm just walking alongside the road here. But that's that was one of the big ones. Sign up and get paid. See, one of the problems when you've been told and the pressure on is make money, is that you have people who just, that's it. I mean, you're almost encouraged by some of the managers to sell or get the boot. You know, in reality, there's only so many you can do, and even then you want quality. One of the firms I worked for was it wasn't Sky, it was one of the it no longer exists, but I still won't name them, but it's a TV firm like Sky. If you going back a few years, you might work it out. It plugged into your original TV, you got it through your aerial. It was, at the time, if I remember, £10 a month. Now, they had a problem because I don't think credit, and they might have done, but I don't think Sky credit checked, and they insist on credit checking everyone. And at the time, it was early days of mobiles, so signals were bad, and we had to use our mobiles, which were expensive, because it wasn't like now where you can make hours of calls all for the same price. In those days, that you were charged. So it was a bit of a cheat. You got cheesed off having to credit check people. That's if you could get through. Anyway, I've forgotten what I'm talking about now. Oh God, what was I talking about? Something to do with Ford, I think. Oh God. I can't remember actually now. Oh well, it was just. Oh God, what was it? This is the trouble. I start going off one line and forget what I was talking about. It probably wasn't important. I might cover it another day. Anyway. Oh yeah, that was it. Oh, the encouragement of that was what I was going to say. Now I've got it back. This is something. This was my bugbear. When I went out selling this, I used to plug it in, spend an hour with a customer, and got 0 cancellations. I used to have it set up. Sometimes you had to explain that the aerial, because in those days the digital signal was 1% or something. It was really poor, so your aerial had to be spot on. You might need adjusting it, and if you've got an old aerial that's been blown about, the signal getting it might be virtually impossible. In fact, most times it was. But I'd spend time with customers getting it really good. So by the time I left, they were happy. I mean, really happy. They knew the product. I'd show them how to use everything. Now, the problem there was that'd take time, but I did a great job because I considered myself more than just selling. I was demonstrating it and everything. Now, other people, to get higher sales, would go in and literally just blag it, not even take out the box and drop it off. They'd get higher sales, but because it often didn't work, you know, they plugged it in, the signal didn't work, they didn't understand, they couldn't use it. Some of the boxes were faulty as well, because I think they were mass produced so quick. I found a few were faulty, so sometimes I tended to, it was a good way of making sure the box worked, and if it didn't, I just gave them a different one. Now, what we found was a lot of people would return them, cancel. So in the long run, I was getting more sales because I got no cancellations. Trouble is, on paper, I look like not a very good sales rep because others were getting much better sales, but everyone were cancelling. Now I was getting it in the ear for that, and that's it. That's the way it comes down to it with sales managers. Some just want sales. I mean, there are jobs I would never do. I mean, one thing like what do you call it? So, double glazing. I mean, if you get double glazing, be careful, because I've been to a few double glazing firms and I wouldn't take the job because they admitted it. They were junk. I won't name them, but they're advertised on TV, some of them, and they are terrible. I mean, it was awful going in there. They were just they didn't care about the customer. So if you do get double glazing, be careful who you go with. I mean, I've always been a bit wary. I mean, you can go to people's houses and the quality is just terrible. I mean, it's just junk. You won't pay somebody £1 to put the garbage they usually give you in your house, and they get people fall for it. They think, oh, this is great stuff. So if you ever go for double glazing, be very careful. I mean, ages ago, I went in a shop and it was a computer one, quite a well-known one, and the manager there said he didn't give a rat's ass about customers, just on about sales, that was it. So I'm always wary about, even in shops, what they offer. I mean, I won't name that company, but they're a big, large one. I always tell people avoid it like the plague. Because I did buy a laptop from them once and got absolute grief from it because it broke and the manager refused to get it fixed, even though it's only a few months old. So I just tripped over a step. In the end, I actually went in on the Saturday and said, you can either change it or I'll just tell everyone my experience. And at the time, laptops were expensive. This thing cost me £5,000. I mean, these days you can buy decent ones for, well, next to nothing. I mean, if you've got your phone, you don't really need a laptop. Get a little keyboard, wireless, you can get away with word processing on it. I mean, if I was at uni now, I won't bother with a laptop, I don't think. I just use a wireless little keyboard, a quality one, and Bluetooth it up to my phone, rather than carrying a laptop. Anyway, that's completely, we're going quite off subject now. But anyway, going back to the original, which this thing was supposed to last only a few seconds. I was going to basically just say, look folks, change your gas and electric supply. I've waffled on a bit, but at least perhaps if the little bit of background might reassure you that it is worth changing. Like I said, sometimes you have to do your own bit of homework. It was like I've just been chatting online to a model who's talking about quitting. She does non-nude, it's all clothes. But I explained to her that you're competing with a lot of people, you've got to put a bit of effort in to get work, because she was saying, I don't get any work, it's not worth my time. And the trouble is, with it, it's like a lot of things, sometimes you have to put a bit of effort in. I think some people think they can sit back and all the work will come to them, and in most cases it doesn't. I mean, that's usually the difference between people who make a success of things and people who don't. Whenever I talk to a business that's failing, you'll be surprised, they just put no effort in and expect everything to come to them. Years ago, my mate's computer shop did absolutely badly, but I went in, I just kicked it, it was just rubbish, it was just looked ugly. He had cheap tables I got from a scrapyard that were actually faulty with the computers on. I says, this ain't good enough, wires were all over. I literally just kicked one computer down. I says, that's what'll happen, someone will sue you. And he went on holiday and I mean, he whinged, he says, I'm not doing anything. Didn't even cost me anything. I got the equipment he already had, tidied it up, made it look really nice. Literally spent a couple of hours working on it, and he got customers. It peeved him off because he had to admit I was right, but like I always say, I always am right. It's one of them things, I'm never wrong. I mean, maybe one day I'll be wrong, but I'm yet to experience it. I tend to find what I say is correct. I mean, it's what I argue about. I always think that I should become Prime Minister or President of the country. But you see, the reality is I'm always right. So why would you need to vote for me ever again? I might as well just stay in the position. I mean, if you disagree with me, you're either clinically insane or just foolish. But anyway, I think that's it for today. I'm just warming up now. I was actually looking, I had a little bag for this microphone. It's only a cheap thing, probably worth 10 pence if that. I won't really bother, probably won't even use it, but I dropped it the other day. I think someone else will have found it. Just me being petty really, wanting to see if I could find it again, but I think someone's taken it, or it's blown away or something. But at least I've looked for it. Can't find it. But no point thinking about it, because I'll just get myself wound up for something I probably wouldn't use, and if I'd lost in the house I'd have forgotten about anyway. Oh dear. But anyway, I hope this is some use. Like I say, I'll keep repeating it, because when I used to go around, you know what people used to say, especially in businesses, that, and often I found the businesses used to fail because they had no idea what they were doing. They'd say things like gas for gas and electric for electric, which was a meaningless statement. I mean, I'd go to companies that were using a lot of electricity, I mean a lot, where savings would have been huge. I remember going to a shop and he went gas for gas and electric for electric, and I made a note of him, because after 6 months I went back, it'd gone bust. Yeah, because it was just prattling around. Thought I knew it all. Sat there in his grotty little shop that looked ugly and wondered why I didn't have any customers. Anyway, it's a little, that's just change regardless. I mean, these days people are a bit easy towards it. Used to be no one wanted to ever change, they all lived in fear, and I think half of it was because of dodgy sales reps, but I think now people do it online, they're more confident. So go online, look for quotes, and then, like I say, go direct to the firms, because sometimes it's cheaper, go direct. Because after all, these quotes firms, always remember they're taking commission. You know, they're acting as the sales rep, what I was doing. And it's also, you've got to remember, are they acting in your best interest? Because would they promote sites that offer the best commission or whatever? I mean, and do they not promote sites that don't offer commission? Because it's a bit like car insurance. You go on some of these car insurance quote sites, they don't offer every single firm, and therefore, you know what I mean, it's I mean, some firms refuse to do it because they don't want to pay the commission out, and they want to offer you a better deal. So it's one of them things you need to look into. The more homework you do, the more you can save. But you see, human nature is it's a lot of effort. I mean, it's even admittedly I get fed up of doing it, because before you know it, you've done your car insurance, then it's the gas, then it's electric, then it's your mobile phone, and if you've got sort of TV, I don't bother with it. I mean, it's mainly because if I did take out one of these packages, I'd probably sit there all day watching TV, because I'm terrible like that. Plus I'd want to get my most from it, so I'd be up all night. I probably wouldn't sleep just watching TV, especially these box sets. I know I'd be ill watching them, because I'd want to watch them all. So for me, it's just because I know I'll go never sleep and never do anything if I watch them. But anyway, always change, always check it, and always and even if you want to stay with the same firm, phone them up and say consider moving, because 99% of the time they will knock it down. Although saying that, my friend did it, and they won't lower the price, but then again I think it's because she had a much more powerful car. So I think if you got, I mean, that's a little tip, I'd never, if it were me, think about your car as well, because a lot of people go out and buy real expensive cars only for them to then be keyed or something. Well, if you've got an old one but not too old, I mean, I'd never get too old because you'll spend a fortune with repairs, but if you get one that's a few years old, that's low mileage, it'll probably run and run without ever breaking down for years, and you won't have huge bills. I mean, you can pick up a car for under 500. Well, a few years ago it'd be a complete rust bucket. These days it can be almost brand new, very low mileage, and you're not having to worry about bills. I mean, but anyway, that's just a little going off track there. But be careful going to some of the car firms as well. Some of them are just selling scrap and charge a lot. I mean, ages ago I went round looking at car firms, and the prices they were charging for cars was ridiculous. I mean, you wouldn't have paid even £1 scrap from them. They were wanting £1,000 for something that you knew as soon as you took it out it needed an MOT. I mean, if you're buying a car in the UK, get at least 6 months MOT. I mean, I'd always recommend you get a car with MOT, because at very least you've got a few months before it breaks, you know what I mean, because you could easily buy a car and then have to spend thousands on it to get through the MOT. But if you've got, I mean, ideally 10 months or more, you don't have to worry about that. And if you haven't spent a lot, even if the worst comes to worst, you can always scrap it and get a new one. But anyway, oh dear, and be very careful what they say. Some of them are very sly when you're buying cars. But anyway, that's completely off track now. Hope this has been some help. Me just rabbiting on as I'm walking in the woods. And it sort of keeps me company actually. I'm walking, talking. Normally I just talk to the dogs. I probably say this to the dogs for no reason at all. Just to keep myself occupied past the time. Anyway, over and out. Hope it's been some help. Bye.